Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, members, officers, members of the public and anyone watching on the television to this meeting of the Planning Applications Committee. Item 1 on the agenda, apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. I've received apologies from Councillor Jonathan Quinn. Councillor Murray Rowlands is subbing for him. Councillor Liz Noble is joining us online tonight. And lastly, Councillor Wheeler has advised us that she will be a bit late.
Thank you. Item 2, minutes of the previous meeting. These have been circulated. I have an issue on page 7 in that myself and Councillor Whitcroft seem to have got a little close, as Councillor Cliff Betton-David proposed the motion on page 7 of the minutes, halfway down. I think it was you that proposed. It certainly wasn't me. Am I not that close?
Yeah, I believe that's correct, Chair, yes.
Okay, so if we could change that. What's that?
It's the other way around, is it? So you seconded, not proposed?
No, Councillor Whitcroft proposed.
Yeah.
I asked for a proposer, and I think it's just got.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah. Sir.
Just on the same page, actually, I just noticed it. Councillors Cliff Betton, Sean Garrett. There should be a comma between Betton and Sean.
Oh,
Okay, that's...
Sorry.
I'm getting close to everybody. Yeah, thank you. So, apart from that, are these minutes acceptable to everybody? They've been circulated. Yep. Do we have them to sign?
Well, there's no point signing them if they're...
No, that's true. So I'll do it later. Item 3, declarations of interest. Like a lot of us, I think. Councillor Wheeler has arrived. Welcome. Just. Almost. I've had phone calls from one of the applicants, and I had a discussion with one of them. Has everybody had that as well? Yep, Councillor Whitcroft? Yeah. So I think that's a universal.
Yeah, and we just talked about the first application.
Yeah. Anyone else got any pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I haven't had any discussions or phone calls or anything, but I did receive an email from the applicant of agenda item 4.
Okay. Covers everyone? Excellent, thank you. So, item 4, application number 240060 RRM, Princess Royal Barracks, Brunswick Road, Deep Cut.
You won't be able to hear me at all. This relates to Phase 4F as one of the residential phases within the Princess Royal Barracks site. As you can see, it is a triangular shaped site in this location here, and it is this phase of development here. The applicant for this phase is also the developer for Phase 6 here, Phase 6C here, and Phase 6B in this location. While we have this plan up, I would just draw your attention to the sports hub up here, as the sports pavilion application is in this location here. This is an aerial photograph of the site. As you can see, we have Lakeside School in this location. The site is surrounded by the Central Sang in this location to the north and to the west. It comprises part of the helipad and part of the woodland in this area here. This is the Central Sang car park, and this is the loop road that's coming round here, which is Bracken Hill. We'll see later. Bracken Hill is the loop road, and this is serving all the residential parcels that have access from Mindenhurst Road. As you were here, we are looking sort of northeast. So this is the helipad, and this is the woodland beyond, and this area here and this area here these trees are being retained, and you have what is proposed as the local area of play in this location up here. Again, this is looking from Bracken Hill, so we've got the trees to be retained here, and access to the lap will be in this location. And this is looking to the west, so our parcel is over here. You can see the school here. The applicant has already demolished these buildings. They've now gone. They were subject to a prior demolition permission earlier this year. Oh, let's go back one. Previous. The site also includes part of the former military road known as the Royal Way. This is within the application site, so this is looking towards the school, towards Bracken Hill. And this is just going, this point here is just going round from this corner here. So those are the trees there that we were talking about that are to be retained. And this is looking at the central Sang footpath and cycleways. So this is actually with the junction with the Royal Way, and this is going down towards the school. And this is the proposal we have before us this evening. So the areas in Royal Way that we've taken the photos were from up here. So we have a new footpath and cycle link coming into the site for the north. We have a new access into the central Sang to the east. The main access point is already provided. It was provided as part of the Loop Road permission and is in and is implemented. And we have frontage development onto Bracken Hill here, and then we have 3 small cul-de-sacs beyond. The proposal is for 20 dwellings, comprising a mixture of 2, 3, 4 and 5 dwellings. We also have a local area of play, which is in line with the indicative play strategy for the deep cut site. In terms of parking, every property has at least 2 spaces, including the 2-bedroom flats, with the larger dwellings also having garages. We have the garden compliance plan. As you'll see from the update sheet, we have received amended plans up here, which now brings the ground floor flat amenity space to be compliant. That just means that this plot here is 0.4 short of what the residential design guide requires for a building that's predominantly garden facing predominantly north. But as set out in the report, that is a minor shortfall and is acceptable. These are just examples of the house types that are proposed. These are the flats. Then we have typical 3-bedroom dwelling, the 4-bedroom dwelling, and the 5-bedroom dwelling. And we have typical, and where we have houses that are on a corner, you will see that the house type has been designed so that one house has a frontage on one street and the other house has a frontage on the other street. So basically we have active frontages to both streets. And these are indicative street scenes. So this is looking east from the access road. So you can see that that's the garage for one of the houses that front onto Bracken Hill. So as you can see that where we have house types that are similar, where we have differences, you can have a different external material treatment. And then we have, those are the frontage houses onto Bracken Hill. As you will see from the amendment sheet, where it's gone, there are a number of updates for this application. As I said, we have got the private amenity space now for the ground floor flat, which is acceptable. That has resulted in the deletion of condition 19 and consequential changes to the following conditions in terms of the numbering. An updated landscape management plan has been submitted, which has addressed the queries raised by the Council's arboricultural and landscape consultant and also Surrey Wildlife Trust. That has resulted in a change to the document in condition 1. The applicant has provided an updated arboricultural implications report to just clarify, to correct a mistake regarding the categorisation of trees. The Council's arboricultural and landscape consultant has noted this, but has no further comment to make. It doesn't change his view. We have also received further bat information in support of the application. Surrey Wildlife Trust is generally supportive of what's being proposed, and the applicant's proposal to secure the remaining detail by condition, but they want to see the survey that they are doing on the 28th of August. So delegated authority is sought for the submission of these details and the drafting of the conditions required with that, in consultation with the Surrey Wildlife Trust, the Chair, the Vice Chair and local ward members. We've had a revised response from the County Highway Authority, which has resulted in amendments to conditions 10, 11 and 17. And then there is an amended recommendation as set out on page 4 with all the amendments and to the conditions proposed. So the recommendation there is the grant, subject to consultation by the Head of Planning, Housing, Corporate Enforcement and Parking with Surrey Wildlife Trust, the Chair, Vice Chair and local members in relation to the outstanding bat information and mitigation strategy and requisite conditions, including any consequential changes and the amended conditions as set out below. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarita. Members, I had a telephone conversation with a representative of the applicant 2 days ago. They phoned me, I didn't phone them. And I brought this up at the chair's briefing. It's in relation to the ground floor plan shown on page 46 of your plans. The Buxton semi-detached houses. And it relates to the kitchen area, where if you see there is a WC opening directly into the kitchen. When I first got married, I had a flat in Lewisham with my wife, and we had a lavatory directly off the kitchen. It was an old house. And we're told that that didn't meet building requirements. I don't know if that is the case, but I don't think it's a good idea. Personally, I would, as it's a utility area, if you put a door across the gap, that would isolate the lavatory and there would be no problem. That's just my opinion. The officers were going to take it away. Have we heard anything since?
Yes, we have discussed this matter with Building Control. That layout is acceptable from their perspective. I mean, historically, I agree with you, there used to be a lobby requirement, but that is no longer the case. So the layout that is being proposed is acceptable in relation to the building regulations.
Okay, thank you. Any other members have any comments to make? Councillor Garrett. Then Councillor Weed.
Have I got the right one? It says Sean. It won't come as a surprise, it's reference parking. It's page 16, and it's 4.7. Two things. It says a total of 58 car parking spaces are proposed, 42 to serve the dwelling and 6 visitor spaces. Well, 42 plus 6 is 48, so I don't know if it's meant to be 58 or 48. Is it 48 or 58? Because my next question will be related to that, to be fair. Because just taking that, whichever one it is, we were literally in this chamber for the last meeting and we were talking about parking space of 1.2 per resident, and we're now talking about either 2.1 or 2.9. So I'd like to understand how we're talking about more. I mean, the fact there's more parking I think is good. I mean, the previous application we were talking about, it seemed like it would be good. So I haven't got a problem with that. I'm just trying to understand the disconnect between there being over 2 parking spaces here, and on the previous application we talked about at the last meeting, we're talking about 1.25.
I think in this case, the developer has made the choice for the location of where these houses are, and also for what they believe their market requires. the minimum for any of the houses is 2 spaces. That's the absolute minimum. The larger houses will also have a garage, so they will have the 2 spaces and a garage. So that is the minimum provision. Irrespective of the numbers, that will be where we are going with this one.
Okay, thank you. If we can just get clarity on the numbers though, that's fine. Thank you.
Councillor Wheeler.
Chair, you'll be delighted to know I've decided not to raise my point, so I'll be quiet.
Councillor Glowett.
I just had 2 things I didn't actually understand what they meant. Page 14, what are visibility splays?
A visibility display is where you have a junction or and it's what you can actually see. So if you're in a car or it can either be as a pedestrian or as a driver, is actually what can be seen. And the County Highway Authority has specific requirements as to what a visibility display should be for safety, really.
Right, and the other thing I didn't understand is on page 19, where it's talking about the non-provision of 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom units. And it says, these smaller units tend to be the types of units delivered in the office to residential conversions, and as such it is considered that this need is currently being met. I wasn't quite sure what that meant.
What that relates to is that this site is part of our 5-year housing land supply. And what has happened since this permission was originally given, there has been the ability to do office conversions into residential. Across the borough, that has meant that the majority of those are 1 and 2 bedrooms. So we have had a huge increase as a result of those conversions. So that's what that relates to.
It's not really, it affects this development, but it's not something that happens on this development, because it's what happens elsewhere that affects it, yeah.
Anyone else? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. It's really just a couple of small points, really. It's about how this proposal is details pursuant to the following conditions, and it says one of the conditions is affordable housing. How does it help meet the condition of affordable housing when there aren't any? Thanks.
This goes back a couple of years to when we were looking at the Condition 9 submission. And as part of that, in terms of all the viability information that was provided, there is no requirement for the provision of affordable housing on this phase. So it's one of those, there's a submission pursuant to it, but there is no requirement for it because that has already been agreed a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I saw that in the 2021 details to comply, so its requirement is nothing and it meets that condition, okay. So just on the other conditions of this item then, often when we're approving new housing, there's a condition to make sure that the construction starts within a year or 3 years to make sure that planning applications aren't built up. Is there something in the original hybrid application that means that part of the sequence is that these are actually going to get built in the reasonably near future? Thanks.
Short answer to your question is yes. Within the terms of the hybrid, you've got 2 years from the last approval of the reserved matters. But I can tell you from discussions with the developer, they will be happy to be on site as soon as they possibly can. But so I think in the next 6 to 9 months, we will be seeing a lot of activity on the site. So. In response to Councillor Garrett's query, the extra spaces are the garages. Sorry, I didn't make that clear in my report.
Anyone else? Councillor Rowlands.
Yeah, I picked up the same point of Councillor Wilson about the fact that there's no provision for affordable housing for rare. I was a bit lost on the explanation of why that's the case. Would you like to review that for me?
Yes, I will happily review that. Back in, if I just find the right, let's see. So back in 2021, a submission was made by DIO, who are the owners of the overall site, in relation to varying of the affordable housing on Deep Cut, because it was no longer viable for the provision that was originally sought in the hybrid permission granted in 2014. That application was submitted with a lot of detailed viability information, and that demonstrated that this phase could not bring forward affordable housing. And that is why, for the purposes of condition 9, no affordable housing is proposed or sought for this phase.
Is that going to apply to other phases as well?
Yes. So basically, with each reserve matters application that comes forward, there will be an explanation of what the requirement, if any, is required on each phase. So it will be fully explained. So yes, there are some phases where it will not apply. So for example, there's nothing on phase 4D. There will be on 6B and 6C and 6A and 6D. So as each application comes forward, there will be an explanation of what is required for the purposes of condition 9.
Councillor Noble.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for not being in the room with you. I didn't want to spread this to you. Just on the subject of granting the conditions subject to consultation with the ward councillors, can I ask what the timescale is for that, please?
Generally speaking, once we have the information, we would try and get responses out. We would send the email out to members as soon as we can after we've got the response from Surrey Wildlife Trust with what we are recommending in terms of the additional information that's required and the mitigation strategy that's associated. We are looking to do it as quickly as we can because obviously we want to try and get development starting on the phases.
Thank you. Members, we have an officer recommendation to grant this application subject to conditions as set out and amended. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Garrett, seconder Councillor Wilson. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That's everyone, I think. No one against, no abstentions, no. Yes, I can add up, yes. Thank you. Item 5, application 24021 RRM Princess Royal Barracks. This is the sports pavilion.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to report that this is the final application for infrastructure on Deep Cut. We have finally got there. Yes, I think we are all delighted by that prospect. So that basically means that Skanska and DIO will now, subject to obviously the decision of this meeting, will have all of the reserve matters in place that they require to complete Deep Cut. The pavilion is up in this location here, tucked up by Ain Road, which is where it's always shown to be. Again, we've seen these photos before, this photo before. So the pavilion's in this location. You can see it in the context of the sports hub that that was considered earlier this year and approved. If you've been out to Deep Cut recently, you will see that they have fenced off the pitch area, ready to start the works on the pitches. There we go. So this is the location where the sports pavilion is going to be. This area here is the cycle footway that was approved under the Sports Hub. These are the properties in Ain Road, and this is looking towards Ain Road with the pitches here and the pavilion located here, and this is obviously the cycleway footway. And this is the location of the building. So you will see we've got a storage facility here, plant area here, and the main building in this location here. The access, the parking provision for this building was approved as part of the Sports Hub. Excuse me. And this is the internal layout. Now, the layout is pretty much set by the parameters in the Section 106 agreement. So we need to have 6 changing rooms. Now, you'll see from the consultation responses, particularly from Sport England, that they don't think that the 6 set out in the legal agreement are required or necessary here. However, to make sure that the scheme complies, we have got 2 dry changing rooms here that could also be used for community purposes should the need arise. So on this side, we have got the dedicated changing rooms for cricket and football. So we've got showers and everything else. We've also got changing facilities for officials. And we have toilets that are accessible from the outside. This has a dual purpose. It's for the people that are using the sports pitches, but it's also for people that are using the allotments as well. Because it is envisaged that this building will be coming to the council, and it's making sure that it works for all of the facilities that the council will be looking after. The main access for the building is over here, and the main frontage which overlooks the sports pitches is here. So this is the building. So we have 2 monopitch roofs. So this is the elevation that overlooks the sports pitches. This is the main entrance here. You get a better sense of it, I think, from the CGIs. So this is walking in from the car park. You'll see from the report that Green Spaces wanted the extension to the canopy, which is shown here, detail to be secured by condition. And then you have the main elevation overlooking the sports pitches. I think that's the last one. Oh, yes, that's the last one. Wow. There is an update. You will see from the update sheet that the agent for the application has raised some queries on conditions, and there's commentary on conditions that we will agree to change, as in condition 4 and 7, conditions 9 we won't, or 5 we won't. And there is a correction on page 58. The building falls within use classes F2B, not A, as said. The recommendation is to approve subject to the update sheet and conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. This is, I think, the 3rd or 4th iteration of the pavilion.
Oh, and some.
I think we're finally getting there. Members, anybody have any questions? Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you. I just wondered, it wasn't possible to see really from the photographs that were shared. Have we taken on board the comments that came back from Sports England around benching and the size of the kitchen and bar? Is that now incorporated, or has it been decided that it's not necessary?
The internal layout is also going to be the subject of a condition in terms of the kitchen and that facility. Just bear with me one moment. I think it's condition 4, where we have, so the internal layout in relation to the non-dedicated change rooms is subject to condition. The benches and the internal layout will actually be a matter for us as the operator of the building, because obviously we run sports pavilions all across the borough, and we will be obviously cognizant as to everybody what they need. So we are satisfied that we have dealt with all the queries that Sport England have.
Councillor White.
I received a phone call today from a resident of Deshington Park wanting to know when the sports centre was going to be opened. And I said that reading the papers, I didn't believe that it was a sports centre, that it is purely a pavilion to accommodate sports on the field. Is that correct?
Yes, the pavilion its primary function is to support the sports hub. So it is the changing rooms for the football pitches, it's the changing rooms for the cricket pitches, is making sure that anybody that's using the tennis courts or the mugger, if they need to use the facilities, they've got access to, you know, toilets and bits and pieces. And we've got dry changing rooms if people want to use those. So yes, the primary purpose of the building is to support the sports hub as a whole, rather than become a sort of a mini sports centre in its own right.
Councillor Whitcroft.
Thank you. Yes, I've been involved with this whole Mindenhurst development ever since in fact, before the planning permission was granted in 2014. And of all the things which have created difficulties, I think it's probably true to say that this has been the trickiest of the lot. I stand to be corrected on that, but I won't bore you with the reasons why that is. But I'd just like to pay tribute to the planners involved in this, who have managed to find a way through the difficulties with some interesting compromises and adjustments, shall we say, in respect A of the Section 106 agreement, and B in respect of the requirements of Sport England, who on occasions, I think I better not say any more than that, but it wasn't easy, let's put it that way. So I think people who thought it was odd that the sports pitches application came through before the accompanying pavilion, that is the explanation. The reason why the two didn't come together was because of the difficulties inherent in sorting this out. Thankfully, that has now been achieved, and as I say, I thank the planners for their tenacity in achieving that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Chair. Just reference the facilities and the outside, the toilets that are accessible from the outside. Are they likely to be 24 hours, or will they be open at times when the centre isn't? Because obviously the allotment may not be open at the same time as the sports hub.
It is my understanding that they will be open outside of the hours for the sports hub. So yes, but that will be a management issue for us. So, but we made sure that the building had the provision so that could happen.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. Just to go back to, Councillor White's initial question and what I mentioned on the previous application, what's the sequencing required for constructing this and opening it? Is it a certain percentage of occupied properties on the whole estate? This has to be achieved before properties are occupied, or is time after consent if it's approved, or just to make sure again that consents don't build up without getting constructed. Thank you.
The Section 106 agreement has a trigger, so it's 450. But as you know, they are on site now. So basically, as soon, obviously, if we have a positive decision this evening, they will be coming back to us very quickly with details, because they are. It is my understanding that Skanska wish to be off-site by next summer. So they are very focused to get things done.
So this restriction would be this has to be not just constructed but also operational and commissioned before more than 450 properties are occupied on the whole estate?
Yeah.
That's great, thank you.
just to reiterate that point in discussion with Skanska, it is costing them money the longer they are on the site. They want it done, dusted and away last week, if possible. Councillor Garrett.
Just following on from Councillor Wilson's question and the answer, how far away are we from the 450? Are we already hit 450?
We're about 300 at the minute, and they've only got permission for, I think, it's this next section of number of planning applications that will do the trigger, but obviously they need to be built. So given that Skanska want to be off-site by next summer, I think there will be no issue with that occupation trigger.
Thank you. Members, we have an application and a recommendation to approve, subject to the vast number of discussions that have gone on and the conditions imposed. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Whitcroft. Seconder, Councillor Omani. All those in favour, please raise your hands. I think I can add up again. That's unanimous. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. All we need now is the next meeting, which is in September.